Party. This one is from Chris Edwards, who is Director of Tax Policy Studies for the Cato Institute. This piece is actually going to be introduced, also recorded by Dan Mitchell, who is a senior fellow with the Cato Institute. And Rick, have you had a chance to get that one ready yet? While he's preparing that, if you're not familiar with the Cato, you ready? Okay.
Hello, Steamboat. I'm Dan Mitchell from the Cato Institute in Washington, D.C., and I'm glad to join you today, the day that your government confiscates the fruits of your labor. The establishment media would like you to believe that people are not really that angry over out-of-control federal spending and that somehow people are being forced to attend these protest tea parties by some vast right-wing conspiracy. But the fact that so many of you came here today on your own to tell the government that you're mad as hell and you're not going to take it anymore just means that all the lackeys at MSNBC are wrong once again. You're going to hear some more details now from my colleague Chris Edwards on exactly what's wrong with U.S. tax policy. And I also understand that you'll be hearing from Steve Moore. Just want you all to know that I've been trying to teach Steve about tax policy for years, so hopefully he'll get it right and be anti-government this time. Again, thanks for your participation here today. Keep up the good fight for smaller governments.
The tax code keeps getting more complex every year. The latest data shows that Americans spend 8 billion hours a year filling out tax forms and learning tax rules. That's the equivalent to having a tax army of 4 million people working full-time every year filling out tax forms. It's a huge waste of time and effort. The cost of filling out all these forms is about $200 billion a year. The IRS, National Taxpayer Advocate, that's supposed to stick up for the taxpayer, finds that there are 500 different changes in the tax code every year affecting individuals and businesses. There are 70,000 pages of tax laws and regulations, and that's up from 40,000 pages just 12 years ago. So this has got completely out of control. Members of Congress keep throwing in new loopholes and provisions into the tax code. President Obama has made the tax code complex already. It's completely out of control.
Aside from complexity itself, and there's a lot of words in the tax code, and the actual, just the dead weight loss of actually filling out the forms, what are some of the other costs of complexity?
Well, there's a great deal of inefficiency created by all this paperwork and the complex rules. It makes it very hard for Americans to make important financial decisions, for example. With all the rules on savings, the different types of 401ks and IRAs, it makes it very difficult for people to plan for their retirement, for example. For businesses, all these complicated rules make it difficult for them to plan for expansion, to plan for investment. We could have a much simpler tax code, and it would make the economy more efficient by allowing people to plan better for the future. Another problem with the tax complexity is it invites an invasion of privacy by the government. When the government puts items in the tax law, such as mortgage interest deductions, educational incentives, and all these other new incentives and loopholes are put in the tax code, it means that the IRS has to go digging through personal and business records to find all the data to support these deductions and credits. So if you put education loopholes into the tax code, it means that people have to provide all the details about the college tuition of the government. And you put the mortgage interest in the tax code, it means that people have to provide the government information about their housing. It goes on and on.
Every politician probably has a pet tax or tax proposal or exemption for some industry that they've got. And if they all have that, it seems that the cost of an individual congressman's pet carve out in the tax code is simply putting up with everyone else's carve out in the tax code. The calculus doesn't seem to change. So given that, what should we see in the future?
Members of Congress speak out of both sides of their mouth on tax code subsidies. Many of them say they're for major tax reform, they're for a flat tax. Many Republicans claim that we're ripping at the income tax code and putting in a national sales tax. I wish I had taken some, but those same congressmen often turn around and promote new loopholes to add to the tax code every year for their favored special interests. Well, where's all this headed? I see a lot of disturbing trends ahead for the federal tax code. For one, President Obama is promising substantial tax increases, not only for wealthier people, but his new cap-and-trade energy plan would be a gigantic $600 billion tax increase over the next decade. President Obama has already greatly increased taxes on smokers by increasing the tax on cigarettes tax. So that's a very disturbing trend. Another disturbing trend, there's simply no interest in simplification on tax. So there's a lot of interest in reform, and so it's disappeared now. The code gets more complex every year, and no one seems to care anymore. Another disturbing trend is that 43% of U.S. households now don't pay any federal income tax. Those are the people at the bottom end who have been taken off the tax roll by earnings tax credits, child tax credits, and that sort of thing. The problem is that 43% of Americans who think that the cost of government is free. They think that government services are free, and so they will demand bigger government. A real concern looking ahead is that the explosive federal spending we've seen in recent years under President Bush and now under President Obama, and the gigantic federal deficits of over $1 trillion mean that federal politicians are going to be looking for more revenue down the road. And there's a lot of talk by policy wonks in Washington who are sort of centrist and on the left of the political spectrum about adding a value-added tax here in the United States. Now, this would be a national sales tax in a sense on top of the current federal income tax. Every other industrial country has a VAT on top of their income tax, and I'm sure that never-ending deficits.
We thank the Cato Institute for providing us with their expertise. If you're not checking out cato.org, they have some of the smartest folks out there. Okay, now we have another little bit of musical entertainment for you. Just released today for you Hank Williams Jr. fans. Are there any of those in the crowd? Hank Williams Jr.? Hank, this is one of the songs that we heard on Fox News this morning, so we downloaded it. It's called Red, White, and Pink Slip Blues.
Who are you taking pictures for?